Yeah, so basically that came out of this meeting, this intense like brainstorm meeting with Ronnie, and we were talking about how we could manipulate sound in real time in front of you, kind of like, so the sound is kind of a living thing or creature or being, and we can stretch it or bend it or pitch it down or just do whatever you want with sound. And it just sounded kind of like a really like a cool idea.
We were on different teams originally. Mike was on the content side, I was on the computer vision side, and we both had an interest to do music experiences. And early on, we just started prototyping stuff, and you know, some of it Ronnie saw and he thought was cool. And he was like, "Well, you guys should do more of this."
Because he has all these projects and potential collaborators, and the first one on that list was Sigur Rós. As a fan growing up, I remember my first road trip, actually just getting a license. I drove from Virginia up to DC and went to see him in a concert, and that was like one of the best shows I've ever seen. And the band and Ronnie went into a room and they were like, what would you like to see in mixed reality?
It's just like really intense, like 6-hour brainstorm meeting.
And this idea of these music spirits came about.
Nandi means sound spirit.
And how do we take this sort of signature DNA of a band like Sigur Rós and bring that into a new medium? How do we bring that over and really pay it off?
Well, we tried to do stuff that was unique to the platform, and spatial audio is really unique to the platform. So it just made sense to, you know, even that by itself, just listening to music in that way is new and different.
I think we tried to treat the music, the visual, and the interaction to be equals. It was just a concept, and there was no headset. It was just literally, we called it the big bench. It was just this massive thing on a table.
I think he had a big machine, the big monster, which took up a whole room, and you stick your head in and just like see stuff.
When the device was finally mobile and that we could, you know, pick it up and move around the room, at the time it was this, we called it the WD3, and it was this giant helmet, and you had to hold it from up here. And as soon as you could move around, you were still tethered by a giant cable, by the way, but we wanted to test how the audio could work in that space, and like, what if you could go up and like listen really closely, and what happens if you shift? What's it sound like if the guitar goes way up, or the drums? And then what if you allow the user to turn those things on and off? That was all designed for a controller, and it was good. It was, you could move the controller around in space, you could click a button and pick something up.
There were definite nuggets there, right? Like there was something really special happening there.
By the time we wrapped it up, our hand tracking system was starting to come online. So you were able to reach out your hand and we would get different key points on your hand. And we're like, oh my God, we got to get this into the experience somehow.
And one of the decisions we made as a team right off the bat was to drop the control and allow someone to actually be able to reach out and touch the music and touch the sound. And that, I think, was kind of a big turning point for us and for the project.
So that first prototype we did, which is the Lisa Zhu figure, just the waveform, we then said, okay, well, what if you can touch that?
So you're seeing the audio in this 3D pattern, and as you reach out to it, it begins to attract towards your finger. And as it's doing that, the sound responds. So you're hearing the distorted version of that sound and seeing it at the same time.
The reality that you are putting your bare hand into thin air and manipulating an object in space, not only visually, but the audio, it's completely mind-blowing.
Taking elements of their sound and elements of who they are, not just as a band, but as people.
I believe this experience is quite intuitive. On the simplest level, I would say that's what makes this experience very Sigur Rós.
It's all about stimulating senses and like being moved.
There's a term called synesthesia, and that's when the senses start to overlap with each other. And one common response people have when they go through the experience for the first time is when they reach out to that beam of light and it jumps to their finger and it plays a very harsh sound, they immediately jump back and they think they've been shocked by electricity.
Some people will yell and jump
Yeah,
back.
they're just stunned, and you know, your brain isn't processing 100% of things all the time, but it'll fill in these gaps and it'll create the illusion of touch and tactile feedback, even though it's just visuals and sound that you're experiencing.
I can't imagine doing this with anyone else other than Magic Leap.
And it looks so much more impressive than I actually hoped for. I think it's cool that Ronny is doing this. He's kind of like he's such a music lover, and he just like, there's probably so many people behind him who say like, what are you doing with this band? Like, why are you pushing for this? Like, you should just do something with like Coca-Cola or like something that actually makes us some money. And he's not doing that, and it's just pretty respectful actually. It's kind of, yeah, it's pretty beautiful, I think.
Nandi is a statement about who we are as a company, and this genuine belief that by tying ourselves to artists and creators, that helps us make a better, more emotionally connected product and experience for people. And so I think that choice is indicative of who we are as a company and the types of decisions we make. It's not always about the practical things in life, or it's not always about revenue. It's about finding the heart and the soul of sort of why we're here and how to get people to connect and really want to invest in creating this new sort of universe with us.
In like the beginning stages of something that might be like really big. So I think this is really natural where we are and what we are doing and how it is and how it's turning out. And I think the future is really exciting.
You know, hope it inspires other creators to get weird on the platform and make art and do things that don't make sense right away and challenge themselves. And
Don't think there's any other company on the planet that would, appreciate a music experience as being one of the first things to come out on the platform.